Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Follow us on Twitter at SDNet for announcements about what's coming up.
You are welcome to start the meeting whenever the notion takes you.
Sounds good. Hey, good morning, everybody. The South Dakota Department of Transportation Commission meeting this Thursday, July 23rd, 26 at 9 a.m. Calling this meeting to order. Carrie, could you please call the roll?
Lynn Jensen.
Here.
Jeff Karam.
Here.
Larry Nelson.
Here.
Don Roby.
Here.
Ron Rosenboom.
Here.
Rick Valerie.
Here.
Mike Valley.
Here.
Austin Simons is not joining. Chris Frick.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, next thing on the agenda would be the conflict of interest, attachments 1A and B, and then also the attachment that was sent yesterday, I believe, for a conflict of interest. Is Carla on the meeting, at the meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is Carla Engel, Chief Legal Counsel. You're correct. There were 3 annual disclosure forms completed, one by Commissioner Karam, one by Commissioner Simons, and one by Commissioner Nelson. The procedure for annual disclosures is to simply acknowledge receipt in the minutes for the commission, and then those will get filed with the appropriate state agencies, the Auditor General and the Attorney General's office. So there's no need for action. The minutes will simply acknowledge receipt of these disclosures unless any members of the commission have any questions.
No questions on my end. So with that, then we don't need a motion of any kind then, correct?
No motion is needed.
Okay. So the next on the agenda would be the approval of the June 25th, 2026 meeting minutes. I need a motion for approval.
Jensen moves for approval.
Jensen moves for approval. We have a second.
Valley will second.
Valley will second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman.
Also now,
Mr.
yes.
Chairman, you
Yes.
do need to call for a vote. You need to call for a roll call vote.
Okay. Vote for the approval of the minutes, please.
Jensen,
Aye.
Karam,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Rosenboom,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
Valley,
Aye.
Frick.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next, for any public input, if anybody's on the phone, state their name and you'll be recognized. Okay, hearing none, we'll turn it over to Carla Engel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carla Engel, Chief Legal Counsel. The South Dakota Department of Transportation is requesting that the commission set a hearing date to consider amendments to Administrative Rule 70-01-0262, which is a Union County speed zone rule. The reason that we are looking at revising this rule relates primarily to changes at crossroads or underpasses for the interstate, and also some changes related to the weigh station by Elk Point. And so I would request that the commission set a hearing date to consider these amendments at August 27th.
Mr. Chairman, Karam so moves.
Oh, okay. Do we need a second, please?
Commissioner Valerie seconds.
Second.
Okay. So do we need to have a vote too, Carla?
Yes.
Yes, you will need a vote.
Or just, okay. Any discussion? If not, Carrie, you call the roll, please.
I've got a motion by Jeff and a second by Valerie, is what I have noted. Jensen,
Aye.
Karam,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Rosenboom,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
Valley,
Aye.
Frick.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Carla?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also on your agenda is an acknowledgement of review of open meeting materials provided by the Attorney General's office. In 2025, the state legislature adopted a law that requires our public boards and commissions in South Dakota to annually review materials provided by the Attorney General's office relating to open meetings laws, and to include an acknowledgement of having done so in their minutes. And so prior to this meeting, I sent the materials that the Attorney General's office has generated for this year in response to some minor changes in our open meetings laws. Those changes will not affect our procedures. However, I do need to ask for an acknowledgement by each of the commission members that you have reviewed those open meetings materials. And so I would ask Carrie to call the roll, and if you have reviewed those materials, to acknowledge by responding aye when your name is called.
Okay.
Lynn Jensen,
Gary?
Aye.
Jeff Karam,
Aye.
Larry Nelson,
Aye.
Don Roby,
Aye.
Ron Rosenboom,
Aye.
Rick Valerie,
Aye.
Mike Valley,
Aye.
Chris Frick,
Aye.
acknowledged.
Thank you,
Barbara,
Mr.
is that
Chairman.
all you have?
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go to Joel for the Secretary's report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. A few items for you, starting with the federal side. And as you know, there's two major things that we need out of Congress here before the end of the federal fiscal year, which is a new reauthorization bill as well as an appropriations bill. On the reauthorization bill, House Transportation and Infrastructure Chairman Sam Graves was quoted on Wednesday, July 15th, pretty much agreeing that surface transportation reauthorization legislation developed by the T&I committee would not be considered on the House floor until after the August recess. So with not a lot of days left either with the House or the Senate when they will physically be in session prior to September 30th, it does mean we're very likely to see an extension of IIJA with that vehicle needing to be passed to maintain the highway program prior to that. If they do not pass an extension by September 30th, it is very problematic to the degree that even federal highway will not be able to operate. So I know from what we're hearing, they are working on an extension, and we'll see where that might take us overall. On the FY27 federal appropriations, on Monday, July the 20th, the House of Representatives did pass a continuing resolution, a CR, and that will keep the federal government funded at a rate that's equal to the FY26 levels, and that CR, at least what the House has now passed, would run through December 4th. So now that bill goes to the Senate, and hopefully they get something done again prior to September 30th. An informational item for you, back in fiscal year 19, we received HIP funds through the Federal Appropriations Act to be used for bridges in our state. At that time, the commission, decided to split those funds with our local governments. The total amount of the overall funds that we received was $20.8 million. And the way that was determined was it was based on the amount of deck area that was at that time in poor condition. At that time, you also authorized the department to provide these funds as state funds in lieu of the federal funds to those counties. Those funds were expected to be used on the local government structures by FY21. We did agreements, they were written, but again, with a short time frame to expend the funds, those were extended through December 31st of 2025. So up to this point, we still have 6 local governments that have not fully expended their full allocation. Remaining is about $287,000. And we have 2 requests right now, Jackson County as one, and the city of Eagan being the other, for about $178,400 to extend those. And so we have corresponded with both of those local governments and informed them that they will have until December 31st of 2027, so next December, to expend those funds, or they will be billed for reimbursement because they did not follow that deadline. We were also notified on a different light. As you know, we continue to put in for discretionary grants through the Bill Grant Program. We were notified recently that we did receive an award for the South Veterans Parkway project in the tune of $24 million. and we will share that with the city of Sioux Falls. Again, this is discretionary funding, so it is above and beyond our formula funding. So in essence, it will supplement those funds. So that's great news for us. On the state side, as you know, we have the Platte Winter Bridge out for letting. There are a number of addenda on that project, and one of those has moved the letting date to August the 5th. So we'll wait for that time period to come in and see where we end up with. But again, I think it was scheduled for tomorrow, but it will be August the 5th. Anyway, Sam would have more information on that. My last discussion topic for you, again, is as an FYI. If you recall, Mr. Darrell Smith, who was up in Mobridge, came to the commission a couple times relative to a slide work that we were doing on South Dakota 1806. So an update for you, that work on his property was completed late May, early June. Pretty much done, except we typically, after we place topsoil on it, we will seed it, and there are seasonal limitations when contractors can place the permanent seeding on those areas. And so our area staff met with Darrell, and it was agreed that a cover crop should be placed until the permanent seeding can be completed later this late summer, early fall. So that cover crop has been placed, and the final seeding will be done here later next month or thereabouts. Part of the discussion we had, if you recall, was the amount of contractor furnished borrow that was set up in the plans as an estimate. Based on the work that was done, there was minimal borrow that was needed to complete the project. There was some, but it was minimal from my understanding. So that borrow did come from Mr. Smith's property, but we do not have a final measured quantity on it yet, so I can't tell you exactly how much that was. In addition, we do not have any details on the agreement between the contractor and the Smith as far as how much was actually paid. Again, there was a contract item set up in our contract how much we paid the contractor, but it was the total dollar value between the Smiths and the contractor was a separate agreement. So, Mr. Chairman, those are the things that I have for you here this morning. Stand by for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Any questions for Joel?
Mr. Chair, Mike Valley.
Yes, Mike.
On the bridge where we had $20.8 million in bridge funds for local governments, and you said
Yes,
6
sir.
local governments have not completed their projects, but are the 2 that you talked about that are working to do that, are they part of that 6, or is that another? I kind of got lost there.
Yes, they are part of the 6. The 4 other ones that are still outstanding, Bennett County was one of those entities, and payment was received back for that dollar value that was still outstanding. Jones County was also an entity, and we had been reimbursed for that remaining amount. Stanley County was number 3, and there was just a very small. They did pay it all, or they used all of up, so there was no they did not use any of it, so reimbursement was for the total amount. And then the town of Whitewood was the 4th entity, and there was some reimbursement that was paid back by them based on what the total amount was. And again, those dollar values per each one of those local government entities was based on the deck area and how much money we received, and it was divided upon those different ones. So that would round up the 4 that I just mentioned, plus the other 2 would round out the 6 that I described.
The base of my question would then be, are we going to lose funds because we didn't get it done?
No, so they received state funds. We, in essence, used the federal funds on our projects, and in return, they use state funds. So what they're reimbursing us is state funds coming back into our highway trust fund.
Okay. So, because I get grief from counties that they don't get enough money, and I just wanting to make sure we're getting, when we do have money for them, that it gets used.
Yeah, that was available for them, and again, we extended it out, and they had plenty ample enough time, and some of them had good projects, but the overall bids or whatever else might not have came to the total dollar value that was estimated, and so they got their projects done, and then the remainder just came back to us. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Anything else for Joel? If not, thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
You bet. Next on the agenda would be Craig Smith, Director of Operations.
Good morning, Chairman. My name is Ryan Johnson. I'll be filling in for Craig Smith today for the Division Operations. The Division Operations has one item today. It's an informational item. That's the construction change order report. It's attachment number 5 in your packet. The construction change orders completed in June contained a decrease of about a little over 2.4 million. Over the past 12 months, the total change to the original value has been an increase of about 1.51%. We do have 10 CCOs on this month's report, and that includes projects with a change of $100,000 or more, or a 25% or more change to the contract. I don't have any specific items that I plan to go over, but I'll stand by for any questions on any of the 10 CCOs in the report.
Mr. Chair, Mike Valley.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mike.
Help me on project number 2.
Okay.
I mean, that's a very large contract, and it's a 26% change, and it's knocking on $500,000, and it was work that was not included in the contract when we approved it. So just kind of help walk me through when we do stuff that's not in a contract and it amounts to that amount of money, relative to what we had as a bid and what other people had made their bid for. Help me through that.
Well, I can tell you the specifics of this change was to add some additional work, and where it was at was the 10th Street exit on 229. And what happened there is there was some work previously planned to be going on those ramps that got delayed. And we took the opportunity on this project to do some repair work on those ramps to try to extend the life out until they'll be rebuilt with a future project. It is within our contract to alter the quantities as needed to get the work done. I haven't heard anything from any other bidders that missed out on that work, but there will be a future project that will rebuild those ramps. And what we did was just do some repair work on it to try to extend the life of them and reduce the maintenance work that needs to be done on those ramps.
Okay, it's a large amount that, wasn't in the contract that we approved, and I'm just wondering how that works if we keep doing that type of thing. So that's where I was trying to figure out, are there sideboards around how much you can do there when it's something new?
I'm not aware of any written down regulations in the spec book about that, but I would say we don't do that unless there's a definite need for the department to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else for Ryan? Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda would be Mike Beam.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Just two items here this morning. First of which I believe is Mr. Wisegram with bid awards, then Mr. Keys with you right away. I'll turn it over to Sam and John.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the commission. This is Sam Wisegram with the Office of Project Development, here to present the bid results and recommendations for the July 15th bid opening. The July 15th bid opening consisted of 3 contracts. We received 12 bids for these contracts. Low bids totaled $2,198,000, which was $215,000 or 8.9% below the engineer's estimate of $2,413,000. We have completed our review of the bids received for the July 15th letting and just have one recommendation for you today involving all 3 projects. Project 1 was within 10% of our engineer's estimate. Projects 2 and 3 were both more than 10% below our engineer's estimate. Based on our review of the bids, we are recommending approval of the award of the 3 contracts bid on July 15th.
Okay, we have a motion for bid approvals of 1, 2, and 3. Can I get a motion?
Roby moves. Approval.
Roby moves for approval. Need a second?
Rosenboom, I'll second.
Rosenboom, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Carrie, could you call the roll, please?
Jensen,
Aye.
Karam,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Rosenboom,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
Valley, Valley,
Aye.
Frick.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay, back to you, Sam.
That would be all I have for today, so thank you very much, unless there's other questions.
Okay. Who do we have then for the right-of-ways?
John?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. This is John Keys with the right-of-way office. For right-of-way items, these are attachment number 7 within your packet. And I will have 2 items that we're recommending for your consideration this morning. So we'll get into item number 1. Item number 1 is an abandonment request, and this is located in Brookings County. The property proposed for abandonment is located along South Dakota Highway 13, and it's located on the northwest side of Elkton. First, what prompted this abandonment request is the completion of a recent project. This project was PCN 05EX, which was a shoulder widening project. And also as part of that project, it included a change in the configuration of the connecting roads in this location. Those were 217th Street and 486th Avenue. So those connecting roads to Highway 13, those were altered as part of this project that was recently completed. So maybe to help give you a visual, within the right-of-way item again, attachment number 7, the first item on page 2, I think will help give you a visual of what I'll try to explain to you. So the second page on that attachment, this is an aerial image that shows the layout before the project. And because of the recency of this, I don't have a layout of what it looks like afterwards because we didn't have an aerial showing that yet. But so again, page 2 is what the configuration of the highway and these intersecting roads looked like prior to the project. So Highway 13 on this is the road with kind of the big sweeping curve that starts east to west on the left side of the sheet. And then it kind of curves to a north-south orientation there. It is labeled as a 13, but that might be difficult to see on there, but that is South Dakota Highway 13. So prior to the project, there were two connections, again, 217th Street and 486th Avenue. 217th Street is the east-west connecting road, and 486 is the north-south connecting road. Both of these connected with Highway 13 at an angle, with Highway 13 there kind of curving, so those were not ideal, those intersections. So with this project, both of these connections to Highway 13 were removed, and with that, portions of these roads were also obliterated. And in place of these, a new connection was constructed on the north side of the building that you can see there. It's the building with the red roof. So just on the north side of that, there was a new connection that replaced both of the previous connections that were at an angle there. So that's kind of the background, I guess, that gets us to Lot A, which this is also shown on that page 2 of the attachment there. Lot A is the parcel that is proposed for abandonment. This contains 69/100ths of an acre. Within Lot A was the segment of 217th Street that was removed with the project. And with the removal of that portion of the road, it is no longer needed for highway purposes. So to summarize, the request for your consideration is for abandonment of Lot A as legally described within right-of-way item number 1. And I'll stand by for any questions that you may have.
Okay, we'll need a motion to abandon Lot A.
Valerie moves.
Valerie moves. Need a second?
Valley, I'll second.
Valerie will second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Carrie, could you call the roll, please?
Jensen,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Roby,
Aye.
Rosenboom,
Aye.
Valerie,
Aye.
Valley,
Aye.
Frick.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Back to you, John.
Yes, thank you. Second right-of-way item. This is also an abandonment request. For this item, we have two parcels proposed for abandonment. Now, these are both located in Turner County. The first is on the north side of US Highway 18, near Turkey Ridge. And the second is also on US Highway 18 at the South Dakota Highway 19 intersection. This segment of 18 was reconstructed in 2020, and similar to most of our abandonment requests that we have, the design of the newly constructed highway resulted in previously acquired right-of-way that is no longer needed. And that's the case with both of these parcels. So the two parcels are included within your information there. There's two attached plats. These are both platted and referred to as Lot A again. The first is rather small at 1/100th of an acre, and the second is a larger parcel of 1.91 acres. And so again, with past modifications to the alignment of US 18, these are no longer needed for highway purposes. So once again, the recommendation for your consideration is approval of the abandonment of the two parcels as described in right-of-way item number 2.
Okay, we need a motion to abandon the two parcels of again, John, Lot A. Is that correct?
Correct. Both of them are referred to as Lot A, and within the agenda, there's the full legal description of both of the individual Lot A's.
Okay, so abandon the two parcels of Lot A. I need a motion for approval. Anybody there?
Jensen votes for approval.
Jensen makes a move to approve. Caramel second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, Mike Valley.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
It looks like that was probably owned because there was going to be a curve there for a merge thing, and obviously you have looked at it, and that the traffic isn't going to demand that we have that on that intersection. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yes, so previously there was a curve there, and the one that you're referring to, Commissioner, is the second of the two Lot A's there, the 1.91 acre parcel that's proposed for abandonment. Yes, at the intersection there, so previously there was a much wider curve there that was removed. And so it was determined that that's no longer needed for highway purposes, which is why we're proposing that for abandonment.
So John, then does that go, this is Chair Chris, does that go back to the homeowner right there? Do they assume that 1.91 acres?
We would not make that assumption. So the process that's involved here is, if this is approved, the resolution, then we send that in to the county, in this case Turner County Register of Deeds. We would record that resolution. It's then determined and assigned by the county as to who's going to have ownership of that. So they would determine who has the reversionary rights to that property, which may or may not be the current adjoining property owner.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for John? If not, Carrie, could you call the roll, please?
Jensen?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Nelson?
Aye.
Roby?
Aye.
Rosenboom?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
Valley?
Aye.
Frick?
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr.
Anything else for anybody else? Nope. Yeah, go ahead, Carla.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carla Engel, Chief Legal Counsel. I want to circle back to the question that Commissioner Valley posed to Ryan Johnson about construction change orders. So there are limits on construction change orders. State law contains them. Our state laws don't apply to our federal aid highway construction projects, but there are federal regulations about change orders. What I understood Ryan to say is that the change order that was proposed and discussed with the commission was within the scope of the original contract, which contained work for repairs on these ramps for pavement and resurfacing and repair and pavement markings. So what the department has done is requested an expansion of that original scope of work, which is allowed. And it's particularly appropriate when there are already contract unit prices contained in the original bid. So federal regulations do permit the department to order extra work as long as it's within the scope of the project, which this was.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you. Probably a good share of that, in my mind, would be that you've already set up in the bid structure the price for that type of work. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? If not, the meeting is adjourned.
Just a reminder, you guys have an August 13 conference call meeting that is your next meeting.
Okay.
All right, talk to you then.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
You bet.
You are listening to South Dakota Public Broadcasting's live webcast service on the South Dakota Network. More information at sd.net. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Links to live events and their archives are available at sd.net. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Follow us on Twitter at SDNet for announcements about what's coming up. Thank you for listening to the South Dakota Network, a service of SDPB. Download the SDNet app to your mobile device and listen wherever you are.